This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so I guess Eddie, I'll start and turn it over to you and to the RVPs. One, congratulations on being an RVP and thanks. I did it a couple of years ago, one of the most fun jobs and one I enjoyed the most in SAME. So I appreciate what you're doing and do have a perspective of what we're asking you to do. So today we're going to go through a little bit on the LDP applications. So we'll do some introductions of the LDP team. I'm going to turn it over to Eddie to kind of go through the mechanics of the application, the dates, how we're going to get you all the applications, how that works, and then we'll wrap it up. And I'll give you at least some insights in my perspective of kind of the expectations that RVPs with the host presidents in kind of selecting your regional LDP candidate. So, so as Eddie said, if you are at a computer with a camera, by all means, feel free to turn it on. GoToMeeting's got great bandwidth, and I know it can accommodate 15 people, no issues. It's always good to see your faces, but realize not everyone is in that situation. So, having said that, first, a quick introduction of myself. I know many of you, but I'm Mike Darrow. I am kind of started out as a leader development task force co-lead with Caroline Roberts. She is now the LD COI lead, and I'm really stayed on kind of due to the leader development component of the COI. So again, thanks for your participation. Roland, I'm going to turn it over to you real quick, just representing the COI.
Thanks, Mike. As the Society's newest community of interest, it's an exciting time to be in the leader development business. And certainly it's an important part of what the Society is doing overall. The minute you look through the strategic plan, you see that. But we've just started, we kicked off earlier this year, and we've had a couple of monthly webinars, and certainly the leader development program is a flagship part of the overall community of interest. But we're just getting started, so anybody in the Society who is interested in developing leaders, either themselves or leaders or being mentors for upcoming leaders, or developing or building a new leader development program within their post, all of these things we can provide help and support to point all of those kinds of people to connect them with the resources throughout the Society that do leader development. We are not the only people in the leader development business, but we try to connect everybody in the Society who's doing that. So take a look at our webpage for more information about what we do, but give us a shout if you're interested. Thanks.
Thanks, Roland. Angie, I'm going to go to you real quick because you're like involved in everything. So you got a dual role on this call, and then we'll turn it over to Eddie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angie, and I can just sit on this call and pretend I'm an RVP that doesn't know anything about the LDP program. No, actually, so I've been involved from the early on, not as early on as Mike and Caroline, but almost early on in the program itself. So on our original little task force, and so it's kind of cool now to be in the RVP role and get to actually do a new role, which is going to be going through the applications from the first, and picking our person from this region. So anyway, I'm excited, and yeah, I'm going to try to listen to it through ears of somebody who doesn't know.
Oh, great. Thanks. Hey, Leanne, thanks for turning your camera on. It's great to see your smiling face. So it's all good. All right, Eddie, I'm going to turn it over to you. I know you sent out a couple of documents with the meeting invite. So if you want to either pull one up on your screen or just talk through those, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so Eddie Gonzalez, I'm the program manager on staff that's supporting both the LDCOI and the LDP program. So I get the fun job of helping move all the pieces at the national office. I'm going to be just walking through the key dates for the program and be available for any questions either on this call or as follow-up. The deadline closes on December 7th. And the way the process is set up is it's a two-stage selection process with the RVPs being at the top of the selection. The first step is going to be getting all the applications reviewed through the post presidents and just make sure that they've met some level of candidacy for this program. Technically, the only criteria for this program is that a member have been a member for 1 year as of December 7th. The program is skewed towards young professionals because it is targeting cultivating emerging leaders. But that's really for the post president and the RVP to figure out who is the best candidate for this kind of program, either at their current stage of professional development or in their current role. So that's kind of and we'll explain a little more afterwards, but within those parameters, what was going to happen is after the applications close on the 7th, all the post presidents are going to get access to their specific applications. All the applications are submitted through our website. They're aggregated in our member database. And so when a post president logs in to their member account, they will see an LDP section in the dashboard. I can't show it to you now because it's not up just yet until we get closer to the deadline. But at that point, the post presidents are going to be able to see all the applications that have come in through their post. We're meeting with the post presidents on Monday to walk them through their part of it. But essentially from them, they would let us know if anyone needs to be removed from consideration. Otherwise, all of the applications that are in the member database would get forwarded on to the RVPs. So all the RVPs then are going to get the same type of access. When you log in to your member account, you're going to see a section that says Leader Development Program in your member dashboard. And when you click on it, it'll give you a PDF of all of the application, not a single, but a PDF for every individual application that's been submitted. And you'll have through the 18th, from December 11th through the 18th of January to go through whatever process you need to create to winnow that down to one selection and one alternate. What we then get on the 18th is your the two names that you're putting forward to represent your region. Who is your participant, and then who is your alternate. From there, all of the alternates and candidates will get aggregated into a single list, and those then get forwarded to a panel that the Academy of Fellows puts together for us. All right, I'm hearing some background noise, but I can't tell who it is, so just be mindful if you're not muting your phone. The Academy of Fellows panel really is just they provide a review to make sure that everybody submitted does meet the 1 year minimum membership criteria. And that's kind of it on eligibility. If there's any question about a particular candidate based on what they see, they may bring a question back to the RVP or the post president. But in the past, I think the only reason somebody got kicked out was they hadn't met that 1 year eligibility. Now, last year we did have one region that did not get any submissions. So we also hope that during this time frame between now and December 7th, that posts and RVPs are encouraging individuals they know of that would be good candidates for this program to apply. We do have funding for one person from each region and one from the international committee. and we don't want to lose those spots. Last year, we ended up picking an alternate, one of the alternates to fill the missing region spot. But we do hope that we come in with all regions and the international committee represented. That process then takes about a week, and then I get their verifications that everything is good to go. They also then rank all the alternates in a ranked order, so that when we send out the confirmation packets to all the participants, if they can no longer participate in the program, and last year I think we did have somebody that was debating whether their job had changed enough to do this. But if any of them have to withdraw for some reason, we then would go to that first alternate that the Academy of Fellows panel designated from the pool of alternates and offer that region's first alternate for that spot. From there, everybody gets acceptance packages that they have to sign. It's a pretty lengthy piece of packet of information that details the curriculum, what their responsibilities are going to be. We do try to highlight the amount of time that is involved in this, but we also highlight that this program is meant to work around work schedules. We have a mantra that work always comes first with this program. We're always able to find ways to accommodate changes in a participant's work schedule. And then from there, we get everybody prepped for JETC. If all goes well, then we will have a physical meeting at JETC, and that's where they get officially inaugurated as an incoming class. They start jumping into the curriculum with about 8 hours worth of instruction over a few days at the conference, and that begins their year. So your role really would be to make sure that whoever your region is putting up is somebody that, one, can benefit, and two, is prepared to commit to the program. So our kind of worst case scenario is we have somebody drop halfway through when we really can't backtrack and bring somebody on midway, and then we just have an empty spot throughout the rest of the program. We know some things are out of our control, but the more we can target who these candidates are, the better the cohort ends up being. Any questions? I'm monitoring the chat and I don't see.
Eddie, can we verbalize any questions? This is Anita.
Yes.
Did I hear you say that the regional fellows will be selecting would be the ones reviewing alternate candidates?
They'll review both the selections and the alternates to make sure that everybody is eligible, and then so whoever your alternate is, if your primary drops, your alternate would then move up to take their place. We did have some situations where some regions did not put forward an alternate, so they do select backup alternates that we will have ready to put in, in place of a region that does not have an alternate. But we hope that every region has enough applicants that everybody should be picking a primary and an alternate.
Okay. Well, kind of my question then is, I was going to have one of our regional fellow be on the selection committee, but it seems like that potentially be.
Yeah. No, Anita, it's Mike. I mean, I think Eddie, it's not the regional fellows that are on the selections. It's a panel from the Academy of Fellows writ large.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I wouldn't have a conflict having a regional fellow on my selection for the candidates. That's where my question was. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Correct. Thanks, Mike.
No,
yes, it's the Academy that we work with to come up with a review panel, not the regional.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question, Eddie.
Yes.
And I don't know the answer to this. As RVP, like, am I encouraged to come up with a like a group to help me pick this, or can I do it on my own? Or
Thank you.
I know Anita just said she's going to have a panel, or how does that work?
Question. Yeah, right now we haven't really defined that process beyond that. We recommend that there is some process at your level. I think we want to avoid this seeming like people are just picking who they know or who's on the inside. But we haven't mapped out a specific selection process at the regional level. we know that there's some posts that go through a cursory review, but a lot of them, it's really just that an eligibility check, and then they forward all of their applicants forward. So some regions could end up with, you know, more than a dozen or so applications to review. Right. And at that level, you know, we do recommend that there is some procedure, and that's why we give such a long window to allow the regions to pull together, you know, a cursory review panel, just so that their choices can be defended. We haven't had this situation yet, but as this program becomes more popular and we get a lot more applicants, I don't want to run into a scenario where somebody feels they were, you know, slighted or not really considered, and we need to be able to have some process we can refer to isolate us from, you know, that kind of judgment.
Awesome. So people like deputy RVPs, I'd say for sure, and then regional fellows, probably the next place to go.
Yeah, that's where I got that idea. That's what we did in the Rocky Mountain region last year. Scott had me as the deputy, and then we had Ron Torgerson. And I'll tell you, those candidates are so good. Having a committee was really helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Angie, that was actually a great transition, because if you guys didn't have, if you didn't have questions on, you know, really the application and the details, I was going to talk a little bit about the role of the RVP, some tips. I mean, really getting at what you stated. I meant strongly suggest that there's some sort of selection panel, you know, and we put together a matrix a couple of years ago, just a little rubric. We'll share with you all. It's a start. It's clearly not the final answer, but it means to get some feedback, and whether you include the post presidents in that panel or whether you have, you know, a panel with the regional fellow and the deputy RVP. Thank you, Eddie. I mean that's really up to you, but the goal is, unlike me, I think the first time for the Emerging Leaders program, when I was the RVP, I was just given, you know, 3 applicants and said, go for, pick someone for the region. And I don't think the first time when we picked someone for that, I don't think I included as much of the post presidents as possible and let them have a vote. I mean, ultimately, everyone has a different perspective, but it should be some sort of competitive process. And as Bolin put in the chat, you know, something that you can go back later and kind of show why certain folks are ranked higher than others. There's clearly a lot more competition. There's several folks that have applied in 2 years and weren't selected, you know, and we keep encouraging all of them to reapply. There's only 18 slots. Last year we had 65 plus folks apply. So there's folks that are going to keep coming back, and we don't want to discourage them, but we want to have a process that's as transparent as possible, but also allow them to provide some feedback. So if they were a little weaker, didn't have something in a certain area, maybe less experience, doing something from the post, you can provide some tangible feedback to them that they could go and work on in the previous years.
Hey, Mike, it's Carrie Ann.
Yep.
Along those lines, do we know if they've applied previously? And would we be able to like see where they made improvements along the way? Is that part of our consideration to say, wow, this person applied 2 years ago and they've made, you know, significant effort to build, you know, their background or something?
A good question. I think we know for sure who applied last year because it was all during the web. The first year, I think the applications went, directly to post presidents to the RVP. So, I don't think we have a database for that.
We don't, and because we don't, and because we haven't captured feedback. Last year we didn't even know who didn't get selected. So, or the first year. So last year we were asking everybody, or now that it's through our system, to tell us who all applied, or, you know, we captured who all applied. But because the reviews happen at the post president and the RVP level, we aren't getting that level of feedback about individual candidates. So it would be something you might need to go back to whoever the post president was last year. We can tell you if they had applied, though. No, we can't. Sorry. Starting last year, we can.
Yeah, so Eddie, we'll figure, I guess we probably need to figure out a way to at least provide the RVPs a list of last year's applicants. I'm not sure how they can access that. Maybe they can access it through, just their link.
I could probably pull a list. Yeah, I could probably pull a list.
Okay.
Let me talk to Natasha about pulling a list off the member database for just the applicants.
Okay. Yeah, Carrie, that's a great question, because we definitely don't have all that visibility, and maybe it's something we ask in the applications going forward as well, or something to clarify to help you all,
Mike,
since you change everything.
Right. Well, while we have this group, I mean, where it would need to happen is like the rubric that you just handed out, or that we are going to make available as a cheat sheet. It would really be, institutionalizing that as part of the process, where we would need to get formal feedback for every candidate. So, that's something we can talk about for next year's process, but it would be on the post president and RVPs to get us the feedback for candidates that didn't advance.
No, great point. And a couple other things I'll say, and then we'll continue to open up the questions. The process, there's nothing that precludes you from doing interviews or just a 10-minute conversation with folks. So you can actually, let the individual have some feedback. I know that's hard. We're all busy. Some posts only had regions only had 1 or 2 applicants, so that's a pretty easy thing to do. I think Texarkana had like 12 last year. It's a little bit more challenging. But clearly, something worth considering. Again, it's another means to help develop folks, even if they're not selected going through the process. And then most importantly, no matter what, everyone should get some feedback from the RVP, those selected and those not selected, and just some thoughts, and reach out to them beforehand. At least let folks know that primary and alternates, it's not done until we're going to kind of go through the final process, but some feedback to them after you kind of make your selections, I think at least let them know where they stand is helpful, because as you can see on the timeline, it's kind of someone will have a long wait from the time they apply to, it's kind of, I think 8 March is when we finally get the formal final list. So there's nothing that precludes you from talking to folks and at least letting them know where they stand in the process as it moves forward. And part of that discussion is also an opportunity to talk to folks about, opportunities where they can contribute if they didn't quite make the mark. Get them engaged in something in the region, or recommend them for something that they can do to help support a post or something on the national level. So lots of opportunities, a great way to get super folks engaged, and knowing that we're not going to be able to get everyone to the program. So leverage is a tool. So those are the things that I wanted to throw out there. Go ahead, Eddie.
We had a couple of questions on the through the chat. One is for Russell. Let's see, do RVPs have the ability to log in now and see the status? I'll talk to Natasha and see how soon. I think what we just don't want is folks diving in yet until we close, because those applications are technically not submitted until the deadline closes. But I'll see about getting all the RVPs access now and see how that looks before we go through the post-president review.
Yeah. Along those lines,
I'm sorry, go ahead. This is Russ. Just to follow up on that, I don't know what posts in my region have visibility on this or are actively engaged in seeking out candidates. And so just trying to figure out the best use of my time and effort in promoting the program and trying to get candidates in the pipeline, so to speak.
Yeah, and we don't have any way of gauging that ourselves either. That's unfortunately, until we know what's coming through our system, we don't know what posts. And this, like last year with the region that didn't get one, we didn't realize that until everything finished. So, I can emphasize that to the post presidents on our post presidents call on Monday, that to give their RVPs a heads up of who's in the mix. And then I'll check on giving everybody, all the regional vice presidents, access to the the applications through the member database, so you can at least see if anything's being populated right now during while we're in the application phase.
Yeah, and
I think
a reasonable compromise might be to just, if you were able to push out a summary, a summary that showed, this region or this post has a candidate, this post has 2 candidates. We don't necessarily need to know who they are at this point. It's more about trying to track the engagement and know that, posts are working and trying to get candidates in there, realizing that, 80% of the candidates are going to come in the last 3 days that the application's open, right?
Yeah, I'm logging in right now.
You're spot on. There's 6. I think Roland already logged in. There's only 6 people that have applied so far. So, I mean, Roland could probably, looking at them, could tell you what posts they're from. But I think they all came in late last year as well. But that's clearly where we could use your help. I mean, just continue to reinforce the post presidents and folks that the applications are open. Not a lot right now, but continue to make them aware of it. Over.
Yeah, I'll see how the best way to pull this list. It's really more how often, and just pulling the list and making it something that's publishable. At the very minimum, if I give you access, you would be able to see what I'm seeing now, which is the list that Mike and Roland referenced. Yeah, because we only have 6 posts represented, so it wouldn't really tell a lot of folk much. But I'll see what I can do on access, and then maybe before the holidays, I'll put out a note to everybody, just letting them know going into Thanksgiving where we stand. And then Russell, you also asked about the Carolinas. You would have had one each year. So you did have a representative in the first class and the second class.
Okay, and I guess I was only, shows my lack of knowledge. I was thinking we were coming up on the 2nd year. So I'd be curious to find out who the candidate was the first year.
The participant?
The participant, rather, yeah. Just so that that gives me another touch point in the region to see how they're getting engaged and activated and using what they learned.
Okay, yeah, I put the link to the LDP page on the chat. It's just sme.org/LDP, and we do list the bios of both classes in on the webpage, so you can definitely, and that'll give you all their background information, what post they came in from, and who they were at the point of being in the program. But any of those kinds of questions, also just send me an email, and I'm happy to send that stuff off to you. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming through the chat. Oh, did I freeze?
Nope, I hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. I think Mike might have frozen because I don't see him anymore.
The rest of us do.
No, I'm still here. So.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's so weird. All my screens are frozen for some reason. Sorry. Okay, I guess I'm just not hearing any more questions then.
Don't think there are any, Eddie.
Hey, Eddie, it's Mike. I mean, I guess, I would just, the posts that we have applicants for right now are Fort Benning, Anchorage, Sacramento, Kaiser-Slautern, Northern Virginia, and San Antonio. Maybe, but one of those is member of the task force. So one.
Oh yeah, that's not San Antonio. Yeah, it's Northern Virginia, Kaiser-Slautern, Sacramento, Anchorage, and Fort Benning so far. And one without a post, it looks like, Randolph Morris. So
Southern California, Orange County, it looks like.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, either way, I'll make a note to myself to send off a list before the holidays to see what we've got accumulated since then, up to then, so that folks get a heads up. And then well, I'll reiterate that on the post-president's call on Monday to give you all a heads up of what they're thinking.
And then I guess the last follow-up, the application does ask them if they applied before. I mean, so you'll see that when you screen them over.
Yeah, I mean, I do get calls, a lot of calls afterwards. Well, actually, that's a good point you just reminded me of, Mike. So after the process is all over, when they get their notifications, they will get told that we don't collect any response, any part of the process. So we don't, because they will email me asking for feedback. And they are all going to be encouraged to go back to their RVP and post-presidents to find out, how they competed, how, and what might they need to focus on. So, hopefully you will have some notes on your end, and the post-presidents will have some notes on their end, because this is meant to cultivate, folks. We can only accommodate 18, but we want to be cultivating everybody that has interests. So. And we will be doing some very superficial parts of leader development through the COI. So there's always going to be the COI to get some interim professional development, even if they're not part of the formal program.
Hey Eddie, this is Jeff down in South Central. I emailed the ones that were not selected last year, the candidates, directly and encouraged them to reapply. So I don't know if all the other ones, it's kind of the same thing. It's just, hey, it's out there. You weren't selected, last year, but it wasn't because you weren't qualified. It was just somebody else. Well, I didn't say that, but it was just that somebody else was. But please, if you're interested, still interested, please do.
Yeah, that kind of stuff really helps, because I know of at least one person that's applied twice, and I see them all over the place. But I don't know what else is going on in their region, how much competition this person had. I really hope to see this person in the program at some point, because I do see them as a mover and shaker, but we rely on you all knowing who your power players are and making sure that they're clued into this. So that's helpful, Jeff.
Move them to the Carolinas region. We'll get them in the program.
Awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jeff. I guess I don't, without having visibility on who applied last year, in our region, I guess I could reach back to Jeanette and see what she recalls, but I don't, without having access to that, I can't take that step, but I think it's a great step.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy for me because I was here, so.
There's another question about from Dave Packard about the Key Leader Development Commission effort. I believe that's what you're referring to. We don't have a formal tie-in other than that program is really encouraging volunteers to step into any of the leadership positions we have. So we would hope that, especially on the younger professional side, if they need the confidence to do that kind of, putting themselves in for post-president or for a COI chair, that our program may be what gives them that kind of confidence. But they're working with the pool of folks that we already want volunteering to be leaders in some capacity. And then we're trying to work with the group that maybe needs that extra year to organize themselves before they would be more comfortable doing that. We do have as an expectation that as alums of this program, we will be seeing them as post-presidents, as COI chairs, as task force leads, as one of the outcomes. But there is no formal tie-in to Matt's effort.
Thanks, Eddie.
Sure. Well, I think that's everything that was on my list, Mike.
Same with me. I appreciate the discussion. I mean, we're always here to answer questions as they come along as well. I guess I would just reinforce the inclusiveness in the selection process as much as you can, or however you do that. But you know, formalize it. It's not all on you as the RVP to pick. You've got lots of resources out there to help you. And it needs to sound like you had a good plan as well, and really leveraging the regional fellow, deputy RVP, seems to make a lot of sense too.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks everyone, and we'll regroup with the post presidents on Monday. And as follow up to this call, I'll send out the timeline again and the rubric. I just need to update it a little more from last year. And yeah, I'll make a note about the sending out a list of who's applied so far before Thanksgiving, before we break. And I'm happy to report back as often as we need. If you have individual questions, just let me, Mike, or anybody on the LDP program know. Awesome. Okay, thanks everyone. I think we're good.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Eddie.